What's up, guys? So, if really quick to preface this video, I'm recording this portion, the voice and the video, after I've actually recorded the entire voiceover section. So, for some reason, my brain decided that it was not going to be willing to multitask. So, what you're seeing now is just me kind of filling around on a multiplayer world that I have with my friends, where we've set up like a big area. So, yeah, this is me just really screwing around with friends. So if you're wondering why I don't react to anything, that is why. So without further ado, just enjoy the time that I committed chemical warfare against my school. What's up, you guys, beautiful people? Today we're going to be playing some Minecraft Hardcore while I talk to all of you about the time that I committed chemical warfare against my school. No, that is not a joke. It is just a story that has been way inflamed for the sake of dramatic and humoric effect. If you got a problem with that, get over yourself. So this story needs a little bit of backstory, right? So my granddad, when he was still alive, was a bit of a prankster, bit of a joker, and I absolutely loved the dude. But his pranking nature definitely explains when we found what one could consider a bit of a questionable substance in his possession, and that would be what we call FART spray. Now, if you're wondering why I just spelled it out, it's because I live under my parents' roof still. My mom will smack me if she hears me saying it for real. So instead of, doing that, I'm instead going to spell it out, or I found out another loophole that was not in the terms and conditions agreement of being her child, or I can just say the word backwards. So we're going to call it Traff spray for the rest of the video. So this Traff spray, if you don't know what I'm talking about, is basically a spray that is considered very volatile to the olfactory senses. That being, well, if you don't know what olfactory is, it's right under your nose. So it is a very, very volatile substance. It does not agree with your sense of smell in the slightest. And by that, I mean that it is worse than, let's say, take a skunk, multiply it by a dog's crap, and then make it hang around for 20 minutes. I'm not even joking. That's pretty much what this is. Well, okay, it has closer smell to rotten eggs, but either way, it's bad. Like, really freaking bad. So, oh, I love this. Okay. So the first time that we encountered this particular spray was when me and my brother were trying to figure out what it does. So we brought it out of the office while we were still at my grandparents' house after he'd passed away, and we showed it to Nona. So we showed it to her, and she's like, I don't know what this is. And then we go and we show it to my mom and dad. I was like, guys, check this out. And they're like, well, that's weird. And so we popped the cap off, and I sniffed the end of it, and it just smells like rotten eggs. And I show it to them, and they're like, "Oh, that's kind of bad. Like, it's not terrible, but it's kind of bad." I was like, "Can I try it?" And they're like, "Yeah, sure. What's the worst that could happen?" I spray it, and let me tell you, asking what's the worst could happen, that was a bad choice on my mother's part, because the answer is pretty darn bad. Basically, as soon as that spray hit your nose, you felt the need to immediately vacate the room and possibly the country. It is bad. So it's rotten eggs, and we're in a confined space, so it fills the space of the room, and we sit there and we're like, oh, that's bad, that's rank. So we start moving, right, thinking that maybe if we get out of the room, it'll be fine. Nope, that is apparently not how that game works at all, because it's terrible. So so bad. Okay, so basically what happened was we sprayed it, and then instantaneously all of us regretted all of our life choices, including the one that had just gotten us to that moment. It is rank. I'm talking terrible. And so we thought, okay, it's terrible, but it'll probably be gone in a couple seconds. No, it won't. It's a gaseous. It went to fill the space. And it's kind of like that one person that always stays late after the party. What I'm saying is it sticks around. It's got some hang time. So it stayed in the air for probably, no joke, probably no less than 15 minutes. And I'm just sitting here thinking, what are the possibilities of places that I could use this in a way that would be hilarious and also really terrible? And unfortunately, I did not have an opportunity to use it until a lot later. But when I finally discovered how I could use it, oh boy, buddy, did I do it. So basically, the next time we had an opportunity to use this was an all-nighter for our youth group. And so me and my brother combined it with another item that we had confiscated from our late grandfather, which would be a electronic whoopee cushion that basically had a remote. You'd set it down, it's a speaker, and you press the button, and it just lets out a rip, like it rips a big one. And we'd combine it with the spray. We had the intention of hiding it somewhere near a person, spraying the spray near them, then lighting off the sound of flatulence for our own enjoyment. And that is kind of what we did, except we got a lot more diabolical. First of all, the electronic whoopee cushion got confiscated because our youth leaders hate fun. I'm kidding. I love them. But I mean, in that case, it was kind of sad because it was really funny. But so that got confiscated. But what they didn't know about was the draft spray. So we waited around until it was about the time where we would start eating lunch, which is about halfway through. Or not lunch, but like it was late dinner at around like maybe midnight. So they break out the pizza, right, that we had just ordered. So me and my brother, we go through line. And we pick out our pizza. We're getting pepperoni, whatever it is. And I reach slightly into my pocket. I just pop the cap a little bit and let it rip. And then I put the cap back on and slip back into my pocket. Well, Z and I vacate the area because, we know what's about to happen. And we walk away about maybe 10, 15 feet. And we start eating our pizza. And the people in line behind us, almost instantaneously, were like leaning over each other like, was that you? Did you do that? And the other was like, no, did you do that? And me and my brother just trying the entire time not to laugh because it's hysterical. And then we got caught because our youth leader discovered what we had done and was not a fan for some reason. So that got confiscated too. Luckily, we got it back, which led to a lot more adventures down the line. Now, like I said at the beginning of the video, this story is about me committing basically chemical warfare on my school grounds. That's the next part of this, was where I had the bright idea to bring this to school without my parents' permission nor knowledge. And there were about 3 occasions where I brought this. The first of which was when I brought it and I had the intention of making it look like perfume, which I was really terrible at that point. I wanted to leave it, make it look like perfume, and leave it on the counter because each like classroom has a sink in it, so I was gonna put it on the counter on the sink. I didn't do that because, well, I'm gonna say that I'm a great person and I decided that was morally wrong, but the problem is that I just couldn't figure out how to make it work, so I just was really lazy and didn't do it. But we're going to go with the moral high ground here and just say that that's why I didn't do it. So the other thing that instead occurred was I had the bright idea of just kind of flaunting it. So I was like, hey guys, check this out. And they're like, that can't be that bad. So at the end of the day, my friend Rhett comes to me and he goes, hey Chris. I was like, why, yes sir. And he was like, can you spray the spray? So at this point, we are all stuck in the gym because at the end of the day, the way this school worked was basically what you would do is each kid would be assigned a number. And that number, you would have to wait for it to get called, and then you were allowed to leave. It was a way of making sure that, like, parents or, like, people didn't just walk off with random children, which was, I mean, I don't know if that's a huge problem, but it could potentially be a huge problem. So they didn't want that to happen, and they didn't even want the possibility of that, so they had this number system. So we were all lined up in the gym by classroom, sitting, so it's about, let's say, probably around 200 kids, 300 kids packed into the gym. Well, it's not packed, but, like, we're in the gym, and we're spaced out probably... Your rows are horizontal, so like from one side of the basketball court to the other, that's how the kids are lined up. So I'm sitting there with my class, and Rhett leans over to me. He goes, hey, Chris, can you try the spray? And I was like, possibly. So but I was smart enough not to get caught. I didn't want to get in trouble for this. So I was like, Rhett, you want it to be done? You do it. So I hand it to him, and he looks around. He gets like this really stupid giggle and this grin on his face. And then he goes, psh, and sprays it. He sniffs, he leans forward, sniffs the air, and then, no joke, I've never seen this kid move so fast. And that's saying something because he was on the basketball team. Like, he's sitting kind of like in a curled up position. He shoots out, so basically he extends his legs, slides back about 15 feet across the gym floor, stands up and sprints out to the bathroom. The problem is that he left the draft spray in my hand. So immediately other kids who are probably sitting maybe 3 feet away from where Rhett was on either side of us, they turn and look at me, and they have this horrible smell assaulting their nose while I am there holding seemingly the weapon used to do so, which technically it was, but I was not the culprit. Instead, I got totally framed. This is a total scam because I'm standing there holding the spray while the real person who did it sprinted off to the bathroom, getting off scot-free. And I have kids who are in my own classroom, in the class above me and the class below me, all looking at me going, Chris, you suck! And I look at them and I go, well, technically right now I stink, if we're being fair. So that was the first time that I managed to commit mass warfare in my school, and I found it pretty hilarious. I thought that was pretty fun. But the problem was that I got the credit without actually being the culprit, which I was not that much of a fan of. So I decided that, so that was the first incident that happened a couple years before this next one. So that was, I think, 8th grade, 9th grade, 7th grade, somewhere around there. The next one happens a little bit later when we are stuck in the back. See, what happens in this school is that you have the entire main building that is this long corridor with the classrooms that pounce out on either side. And at the end, you have the gymnasium. So it's like a really long building. But then they decided to tack on an atrium on the far side of the gymnasium. And then the atrium is where you have the 9th and 10th graders. So when I graduated basically to the high school level of this school, which the school is private, so that's why it's a little weird. Basically, we graduated, but we never left the same building. We were technically part of a different school that had the same anyway. So we graduated into the 9th grade, and yeah, this was 9th grade. So I decided that I wanted to bring the trash spray back because I wanted credit, but also I wanted to experience what it felt like to be the actual culprit this time rather than just getting blamed for it, which was just exactly what happened last time. So this time around, I decided to bring it, and I had the bright idea of getting the kids in the younger grade involved. Because basically, since we're all still local, the 9th graders can walk back and go talk to the 8th graders. So I walk, and at that point, I had some close friends in the 8th grade class because all the kids in my class hated me for some reason. I can't imagine why. It might have something to do with the fact that I was always considered annoying. I'm using air quotes there because that's a totally stupid term. I'm not annoying. I'm just different. Okay, yeah, no, I'm annoying. I hung out more with the 8th graders. And so at this point, I brought the trash spray back to school, and I was showing it off to one of them because they were like, there's no way this is real. And then one of the other girls from 8th grade looks at it and goes, can I borrow that? And I was like, hold up, why do you want to borrow it? And she's like, I kind of want to go spray it in the girls' bathroom. And I was like, now hold up a minute. And I thought this through, right? Because I'm sitting here weighing the pros and cons of this. I was like, okay, there is zero chance that I could get blamed for this unless she rats me out. Because honestly, or obviously, I ain't going in the girls' bathroom. Which, there's another story about that entirely where someone in my class did go in the girls' bathroom. I can tell that later. That was on a DC trip. That was fun. But basically, my friend, she goes, let me spray in the girls' bathroom. I was like, okay. But she's like, well, not right now. I want to wait. I was like, what do you want to wait for? And she goes, well, there's PE later today because this was Wednesday. And I was like, okay, well, what do you mean? She's like, well, I'm going to spray it while the girls are in the restroom getting changed. Because basically, the only place on the entire campus where you can get changed is in the bathrooms. So, because we don't have like locker rooms or like, I don't know, whatever, like the normal high school stuff. We don't have the normal rooms where people get changed. I don't know what they're called. You know, I'm having a total like brain crap where I just can't think of it, whatever. But basically she was like, I want to spray it in there while the girls are getting changed. I was like, so basically you want to spray this while they're trapped inside. And then she's like, yeah, exactly. I was like, okay, yeah, I can live with that. So I give it to her and I wait, and she goes and she sprays it into the girls' bathroom. And I'm waiting because I'm at my locker because the lockers are situated right next to the bathrooms down at the end of the hall next to the gym. So I'm at my locker and I'm just listening out of the corner of my ear. And she comes back out, changed for PE, and she tosses me the spray, and she was like, hide it fast. Like she made that kind of motion, like get rid of it. So I like slip it into a pocket. Instantly, there are girls who, like all the girls that had already gotten changed, because they apparently like to hang out in the bathroom for 20 minutes, which, okay, I never understand this. Why do people go to the bathroom together? Girls, I don't understand. Guys, like we know there's a rule. You don't even speak to each other in the men's bathroom. That is a no, like that's breaking bro code to the point where you could get like, I don't know, decapitated. Like you get murdered basically for breaking that rule. That's a capital punishment offense if you talk in the guy's bathroom. So I don't understand why girls hanging out in the bathroom, but whatever. The girls that are already changed come sprinting out like coughing and sputtering, and there's like, it's so bad, this is terrible, and I'm standing there trying not to lose my mind because I thought it was hysterical. So at that point, it was when I realized that I was late for the final period of the day, which for me is art class. So I go back in, I march back into the atrium, and I'm still having a smile on my face because I think this is hilarious. And the teacher kind of looks at me as like, oh, nice of you to finally join us. I was like, hi. So I basically sat down at my spot, and we're working on an art project. I don't remember what it was today, or that day. But I have the spray like kind of in my hand, and I'm kind of like mulling it over, like rotating it in my hand. And one of my friends from across the classroom, he kind of like motions to me, and he's like, do the spray. And I was like, And then I had a couple more kids that were like, Chris, do it. Because they thought it'd be hilarious because, okay, so our art teacher was super strict, which that's not a bad thing, but it's just really funny to me because it's like, out of all the classes that we have, I feel like art is the least important because it's like, you know, I'm not going to get rejected by the college of my choice if I don't do well in art class. Wait, would I? You know, I actually don't care. Whatever. I'm already in college. Doesn't matter. So basically, at this point, I look at them and I'm like, you know what? Fine. Yeah, I can do that. So I very sneakily like pop the cap off and I right under me basically, and then I put the cap back on and I slip it back into my pocket and I continue my art. We keep going for probably about 5 like 5-10 minutes when the teacher starts to notice. So the class, the students noticed immediately. Like I said, this stuff fills the room like that. It's terrible. It's hilarious. It fills the classroom. And then she is freaking out because she's like, oh my gosh, what is this? So she's literally like, oh, that's bad. That's terrible. But she tries to keep teaching because she doesn't want to call out a kid. And then I pull it out a little bit later. So it kind of dissipates. Psst, I spray it again. And I put it back in my pocket. Her response was hysterical. And I was just like, oh, oof. Because she looks back and she goes, okay, so if anyone needs to get up and go to the bathroom, now is the time. And I just start laughing under my breath. Half the class is losing their minds. And then one person goes, it's a prank. And I was just like, bruh. What a bruh moment. Because this kid just decided it was a great time to rat me out. And she was like, well, how is it a prank? And my friend, he looks over at me and he goes, Chris has a spray. And I was like, bruh, what? Why would you do this to me? So he just legit totally ratted me out to the feds. And I'm like, bruh. And he just, and then the teacher looks at me with cold, daggerous eyes. And she was like, you're a high schooler. And I was like, thank you. I'm aware of that fact. I'm pretty sure I've noticed by now. I mean, I am in 9th grade and we're almost at the end of the year. I'm pretty sure I've noticed. And she just goes, you're a high schooler. I expect you. And I'm doing this voice to mock her, but I don't want to be like really mean. That's why I'm not giving names or anything, but I just find it really funny. So like, there's no beef between me and this teacher. At least I don't like, I'm not trying to be really rude. I just find this the most hilarious thing. But she's basically like, I expect you to act like a high schooler. And I'm in my head, I didn't say this because I didn't want to get in huge trouble. But in my brain, I'm just going, I feel like that was a high school age prank. Like, I'm pretty sure that was fine. Like, I don't know. It's not like I crapped all over the bathroom or something and smeared it on the walls because that'd be terrible. And that's, I don't know. I feel like that's like an elementary school prank, right? Because they don't care about anything. But at high school, like, I'm not hurting anyone. I'm not hurting anyone's feelings. I kind of disrupted class a tiny bit. But I felt like it was well worth it because it was hysterical. So that was basically the time I committed chemical warfare against my school. But there was one last instance in which I am so proud of my actions. And I probably shouldn't be. But there was this one kid who had a tendency to, well, okay. Every now and then he'd pick on me in certain ways that I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. And I don't even think he realized it, so it didn't really bother me. But there was this one time where this kid stole my glasses. Like, he took them off my face. And it miffed me so much. I was just like, are you kidding me? So I decided I was going to get revenge. So the next day, I brought the trash spray back to school. And okay, so I'd gone over in my head, how could I make this one individual student suffer without making anybody else suffer? And then it hit me. He had one of those pop-top water bottles, right? And I thought, what would happen if I put the spray and I sprayed it onto the cap of the water bottle that shuts? Because the way it works is that the cap part doesn't actually touch the nozzle that he puts his mouth on. So I waited for him to leave. I popped the top, sprayed it on there, and shut it again. And a few kids saw me do it, and they looked at me like, Chris, what are you doing? I was like, guys, don't worry about it. This would be hilarious. So luckily this time, no one decided to rat me out. So they go and they sit down, or like we all sit back down because that was at lunch. And he comes back in for class because I think he went into the bathroom to play Fortnite because this is back when Fortnite was still a huge thing. So I was like, okay, well at this point, even if you didn't steal my glasses, you deserve this for playing Fortnite. So he goes and I spray the water bottle. He goes and sits down and he goes to take a drink, right? So he pops open his water bottle. His reaction was instantaneous where he goes like he swigs a little bit and then he like coughs and sputters and even spits it out and puts the bottle back on the table. And he was like, dude, who let one rip? That's rank. And he's just like repeating it. Who traffed? I mean, again, like he's not saying traffed because that sounds stupid. He's saying the other word, but I'm not going to say it because the wrath of mom is not worth it. So basically, he's just screaming about how terrible this is. And I find it hysterical. And nobody says anything. For once, these kids are smart enough not to actually spoil the prank. So I'm sitting there trying not to laugh. And he closes the water bottle, goes back to his thing. And then a little bit later, he pops it open again. And he takes a swig. And then the same thing happens. Like, gross, this is terrible. Who let one rip? I let this happen 3 times before one of the students in the class finally was like, Chris sprayed your water bottle. And he's like, sprayed it with what? And I showed him. He was like, you owe me a new water bottle. I was like, dude, you can clean it off. He's like, no, you can't. So he goes to the sink. He tries to clean it off. I don't even know what he did because he was like, I can't get it off. I was like, dude, it's not that hard. He's like, I can't get it off. You owe me a new water bottle. I was like, you know what? Give me the water bottle. So I went and I cleaned it. And so I made sure it wasn't on there anymore. But I was just sitting there the whole time because I was just like, this is hysterical. So that is the chronicle of how I committed mass like basically chemical warfare against my school. And yeah, if you guys want to hear more stories about this, I have plenty of these stories that all involve like really dumb stuff happening to me. I have a weird life. So yeah, next time I can talk about the time that I was a kidnapper. It'll be fun. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, please comment, like below. If this video gets 2 likes, I will tell the story about how I became a kidnapper. And yeah, so I will see you guys all in the next one, and goodbye.